On this episode of Nugget Project, we're going to find out where our rust and our body filler finishes and where our car actually starts, and then we're going to bite the bullet and weld one of these suckers in. Morning friends, well I've been putting off welding these panels in. So I've got one for this side and one for the other side. The other side is the bigger one, this is the smaller one. And the reason being is I'm nervous about wrecking it because these are really expensive. I think I mentioned in the last episode to get the two of these delivered to Australia was about 650 Australian dollars. It's a lot of money for two little patch panels, but I've got to do it one day, and I've kind of done a lot of work on the back of the car. I do have a patch, there's a panel under here that I need to patch up, but I wanted to leave that open so I could access the back of this first. So I need to do this first before I do that one. So I think the first job is to find out where this kind of finishes up. If you remember in the last episode, I had to pick at this at the end, and most of this was just body filler. Literally, they just filled in the rust patch and painted over it, which is gross. So we're not gonna do that. We are gonna grind all this back, find out where the rust and the filler ends. You can see up here, there's quite a bit of rust. The back of this car has been in a bingle, and you can feel the back of the panel. It is a bit wavy and they've filled in a bit. I'm not too sure if I'm gonna be able to knock that much straighter. Look, it looked all right. I know it's not the greatest, but I might try and knock it a bit straighter, then we'll just fill it and patch it a bit. The bit I am nervous about this is this arch here is quite stepped out. It's quite an aggressive curve. This one isn't, so this doesn't match very well. So depending on how far the rust comes up, I will probably have to try and bend out this arch to try and match. But yeah, I think the first step is I really just need to grind all this back and find out how bad it is. So let's do that. Well, I'm an absolute genius and forgot to press record on the camera before I started grinding because just heaps good. But it's a bit of a mess. Let's go and have a look. As you can see, I have made an absolute mess here. This is all filler. So the actual rust patch is about here. It's not too bad, but all this is body filler. You can see the step there. So it fills all the way up here. I'm guessing this has had, you can see the dents there. I'm guessing it's had a big whack in the back here and they've just straightened it up the best they can and then body filled it. Oh man, I mean, what do? Do I grind it all back and try and straighten it up a bit, and then I don't know how far I want to go with grinding this back, stripping this back. It's a bloody mess though, look at it. Whole workshop is covered in dust. Anyway, this is, I don't think it's that bad. Like it's obviously this corner, but I think it probably stops about here. So where's our patch panel? Let's go and have a look. Oh my God, everything is covered in dust now. So, I mean, we're gonna have to come up here a bit, but we might be able to get away. It's cutting about here. We don't want to cut on one of the creases. Man, what a mess. What a mess of a car. What did they do to you? What hard life have you had? Check out how much filler there is there. It's literally like 4 or 5 mil of filler. Oh, this car's hilarious. Man, I thought I was just fixing that today, not all this, so I don't know what's going on. I'm just gonna grind all the filler back and we'll just start fresh. You can see it's had a panel beating job here. Yeah, I think this whole back end's been in a crash, so I'll try and straighten some of that up and then I guess we'll fill over the top. I just don't know why they filled so fat. Like, it doesn't need to be that fat. You could just have a really thin line and that would be fine. I don't know why they had to bring it out like an extra 5 mil. You know, we'll grind this back and maybe that'll give us the answer. Okay, so I think I've got it all ground back, and it looks like this has definitely been in a crash in this corner, so let's have a look at it. So I ground, this was so thick, Bondo, all the way down, and I found it pretty much stops here. So this is back to normal paint and normal steel, but from here all the way around, and it is ripply, like it has been repaired and they've done their best, and then they've had to Bondo over the top to try and make it look okay, but they used a lot. Like I'm talking, that was an easy 5, 6, 7 mil thick in some spots. Like it was really thick. I don't know why they need to do it so thick. You can see here, I mean, the line's not super straight, so you would need to put a bit over it to try and get those lines straight, but damn, like they used a lot. And I'm gonna have to use a bit to obviously get that back smooth again, but I'm definitely not gonna use that much because that was insanity. I'll try and knock a bit of this straight, but I'm no panel beater, so. And you can't access that bit there is actually behind, there's a skin that starts there, so you can't access the back of that to tap it out. And I just don't have the knowledge or the tools to do that, so. These bits here I might be able to knock straighter, but yeah, wow. I didn't expect that today. I was just looking at fixing this, not all this. Anyway, but that is what we're here to fix today, so let's figure out where all this rust stops. Looks like we're kind of stopping about here. So we'll figure out a best area to mark, probably along there, I reckon. And we'll replace that whole bottom section, chop it out, and get our new one in. Alright, so this patch panel is pretty freaking terrible. Doesn't really fit at all the bends are in the wrong spot and everything. Could have almost just made it up out of a bit of sheet metal, to be honest. Say paying the absolute exorbitant rate from the States, but anyway. The other one on the other side does look better, I'll admit that. Anyway, I've kind of got it sort of fitting. So I need to bend some stuff here, but I'm sort of struggling. I think what I'd like to do, and I'm sure a lot of you are going to cringe at this, but I don't care, it's my car. I'm going to tack a few of these and then bend and tack. I did it with one of the other patches. Basically got it very close, tacked, and then I can bend it in shape on the car, and it worked out really well. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to tack this corner in here because I've got this bit pretty dialed. And then move along, bend this into shape, tack, tack, tack. And then once the top's good, I can start going down here. I'll tack at the bottom and I can get all this working. So, yeah, let's just give it a go, huh? I could sit here and just faff with it for days and hours, but honestly, I just need to get this done. I was going to continue this on Monday, but I just found out it's public holiday on Monday, which I didn't know about. So, unfortunately, that means the kids are home from daycare, even though I still have to pay for it. So, awesome, good stuff. So I need to get it done today. Anyway, let's bust the welder out, see what we can do. Okay, so I've got 4 little stitches there, 4 little tacks just to keep it in place, and I can start bending it and shaping it, and that actually works really well. So from here, it's pretty much just tack, shape, and we'll get this patch in. But I'm not going to make you sit through all that, and I don't have enough memory card for that. So we're going to check back once this is somewhat in. Okay, it's a few hours later and I'm kind of doing all right. I bent my fingernail back halfway down my nail and that sucked ass. My light fell over and I went to reach for it and I grabbed the rack on the welder and just bent my thumb. Oh, and you ever bent your fingernail back? You know how much it hurts, and then bend it all the way back and yeah, so much blood, it sucked. Anyway, let's have a look at this. So experts on the internet about welding, shut up, I don't care. It's hot and it's been a big day, but yes, this patch did not fit at all. I've made it fit. And so obviously it looks crappy welds because you got to do tack, stop, bucket of water, wet rag, cool the panel down, tack, stop. And literally that's the way you do it if you don't want to blow holes through this 40-year-old light sheet metal. As you can see down here, I blew plenty of holes through this metal. Oh my God, focus. Stupid camera, come on. Yep, I blew plenty of holes through here and I've still got to repair that. And the way to do that is with my piece of copper, put it behind, and then use that as a backing to fill the holes. But the rest is kind of done. This was all really crappy metal, so I had to chase a bit of a hole up there and grind it back. Yes, I will need to bog this, but that won't really be any different from the rest of the car, but we'll hopefully use less. So I'll grind it back, we'll use a thin layer, and hopefully that'll look all right. So that's the thing. It's not quite, you can see the shape here is not quite what I want because this patch panel just did not line up. Like that line literally went that way. That's the line on the car that went that way. Whatever, bit of hammering, gonna make it work. Good thing is you can't compare both sides of the car at the same time. So this will look different from the other side, but no one's gonna know that but me. Oh, and all you guys. All right, a bit of grinding later and we're done. So this is the reality of it. It's not gonna be a perfect finish. However, I've got it all ground down smooth. So basically now, when I go to paint it, I'll Bondo just hopefully a thin layer over most of it. And this, it'll just fill in all those little bits next to the welds and I'll smooth it off and no one will ever know. Yes, like if you came to YouTube to come and find perfect welds and get your jollies, this is not the channel for it. This is a real dude learning how to do this stuff. So this is basically how it's turned out. But look, I'm happy with it. It's gonna work. That panel was terrible. It would have been nice if that just fit, but it didn't. Anyway, it's done. That section's done for now, so I figured I'd look at the front of the quarter here, and it's not great. I thought it was literally just this little bit of rust here, but then looking underneath, oh dear God, and it just gets worse. And there's also a dead huntsman in there, that's cool. So that's where the rear quarter finishes. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm basically gonna cut along here and just take the whole bottom section off. The good thing is that line there is where the big fiberglass side skirt sits. So all this will be covered, which is great. So it doesn't have to be the prettiest, it just has to work. And then I've obviously got this hole here. So I'm gonna cut that as a nice straight section. That'll be one, and then I'll do a patch here and that'll be two. But I need to get all this off and this is a mess. I've got to see how bad it is underneath too. Anyway, we'll drill out these spot welds first and then try and peel this off and see what happens. There we go. Yep, that's pretty shagged. Okay, so I made this part and it looks really impressive, like it's gonna work, but it just doesn't. I copied it off the old bit I took off and hammered it flat and thought I could kind of, yeah, use that as a template. Didn't work. So I'm gonna redo that. I can go in the bin. It sucks. And just gonna use a sheet, bend that end up, and then from there I can kind of figure out this curve and then cut it to shape. So we'll do that real quick. Also, out of interest, I dug up the side skirt that fits there. You can see it covers up that entire section, which is why it rusted in the first place. So literally I could just put a patch over the top of half of this. No one's ever going to see it, but I want to try and do it a little bit nicer than that. So I will try and roll it, but it doesn't have to be that pretty because this is a permanent side skirt, permanent part of the car, and it covers all that up. So that's good. So anyway, we'll just seal it up, make it look as good as possible, and then that's all going over the top. I call those side skirts. So sick. Alright, and with the magic of editing, I've got a new panel made up. So I basically bent that lip again, just like this one, and I've got it clamped on with these funky little clamps. And I've bent it pretty close to shape, which is good, but this actually curves in like that. So I'm gonna give it a bit of a massage with the old nylon hammer, and just get it as close as humanly possible. And then I can measure up and cut this line across here, cut what I need off here, and then cut it to shape, and we'll try and tack it in. Not an easy shape just because of that curve and this, and yeah, none of it's easy, but we just do it. Okay, let's give it a go. A little bit of bashing and grinding later and cutting little slithers off this thing, and I've got it fitting pretty good. I kind of stuffed up here and cut in a bit too deep, but the welder will fix that, and that pretty much fits pretty well. I just need to grind a tiny bit off here to make it fit better. But yeah, that's gonna work pretty good, and then afterwards I can trim all this end up to make that curl around and do all that, because I need this little tab here to fit the side skirt on, so I'll have to do that. And then once this is in, then I can start looking at this plate here. I could have done it as one piece, but this was hard enough already. So yeah, we'll fix that bit next. But anyway, let's get this trimmed up and get this tacked in. And there we go, it's actually going all right. So you would have seen I'm tacking. I think I've been through this before, but for those of you who are like, why don't you just weld it? Well, with the very, very thin sheet metal, you need to basically just tack, let it cool, tack, let it cool. Otherwise you get several problems. You get the sheet metal warps, and also you get blow throughs, because the metal gets so hot that when you just try to keep going, it just blows through massive holes on the old metal. It's only 0.8 steel, 40 rolled 0.8 steel with all sorts of crap behind it I can't clean. So you're just going to be very, very slow and methodical. But I'll tell you what, apart from you got a little blow through here and a little blow through here, but the rest of that, I'm actually pretty happy with those little tacks. They've worked out well. I know they're not the prettiest thing, but you know, grind that back, I'll finish this. And obviously I haven't done this bit yet because I still need to cut this patch out and make that patch, and then I'll join that all together. But I reckon that's not too bad. I'm pretty happy with that. These ones went pretty poorly because I didn't clean properly behind them, but that's tacked on, and then I can trim this off and trim that corner off, and then I just need to tack underneath here. But that patch is very, very close to done, and I'm stoked. So I won't make you sit through the rest of that because it's all about the proper patch panels like we did in the back, and I want to get onto the other patch panel in this episode. So I'm going to breeze through this and I'll show you the end product. So I'm just about done. Unfortunately, the batteries ran out of my grinder, so I'm just charging them, but man, I am pretty stoked with that. That has come up so good. I'd be happy to just a little bit of filler and paint that, and that'd be on the outside of the car, look rad. Unfortunately, no one's ever gonna see it. Typical, the best one I've done, and no one will see it. Anyway, I wrapped it around here, and you can see I've circled there. that's where the side skirt actually mounts, so I'm gonna have to drill a hole in that. I just want to grind this back a little bit more, and just here, doesn't need to be, but I just want it to look less crap. Right, and then that's done. I'm stoked, man. Now I just need to do this little bit here. I ground this back and it's not too bad, so I'm just gonna cut this section. Might cut it in here, I don't know yet, because that's a little bit crappy. No, it's just surface, I don't know. Anyway, I just want to get rid of this section here. It's only small, but we'll patch that up. Once again, it's under the side skirt, no one's gonna see it, but I just want to get rid of the rust. And then we can move on to the patch panel on the other side. Doubt it's gonna happen today, but I do have Monday off too, so it can be in this video. Let's do it. And just like that, with the magic of editing, it's done. So the patch didn't turn out as nice, you can see it, but I was kind of starting to be careful, and then I just went, you know what, it's all under the side skirts, it just needs to not be rusty. So yep, sprayed all inside to treat it, and now it's all done. I drilled the hole for the, what do you call it, for the bit for the side skirt, so you got the two mounting holes there. The underneath looks great. That is, I'm pretty stoked with that. That is a good job. As I said, shame no one will see it. All right, cool. Let's move on to the other side. Let's go check out this side skirt, because it's going to be full on. So here we are on the other side of the car. It's a bit squishy by the wall, but it's all right. So this is by far the worst rust on this car. Well, the biggest rust patch anyway. So it is shagged. This whole section is gone. So what I need to do is strip all this back and find out where the metal actually starts. Obviously, there's none there. So we'll get rid of all this loose junk down here, up to here, and we're going to find out how bad this is. This looks like this is all affected. So I'm going to have to obviously make this, because our patch finishes there, which sucks. So there's going to be a bit to do, but that looks good. So we'll just strip back this old quarter, see what's under there. Yuckies. Okay, so I've got a lot of this cut back. This is a mess. So it's not just a matter of putting this panel on here, because once again, this panel doesn't really fit that well, which sucks. But anyway, we'll figure that out. So obviously we have the locking mechanism, the sensor for the door open mechanism, and that is stuck in there. So I'm gonna have to drill that out and retap that. That's another problem. Then there's all this complex shape here. So this was the section that came out of there, and it's like a little bowl thing. That is gonna be an absolute bitch to recreate. So that's something. So I've obviously gonna make this panel and that little bowl there. This doesn't match up with this. Like, this all needs to be cut back into here to match. I don't want to cut up here because it's such an obvious spot in the car. Like, everybody can see that. So what I want to do is cut down here, because this is angled down a bit, which yes, will make it a tiny bit harder to weld, but at least it's not in somebody, like in direct sight. And then the side skirt sits there. So I wish I could just do it all under the side skirt, but unfortunately that rust there and that rust there is above the side skirt. So we're gonna have to go above it, unfortunately. And I don't want to go, there's a dip here, and I don't want to cut across that dip, because that's gonna be, like, that dip won't match that, I 100% guarantee. So I don't want to cut across those lines. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut across up to this section here, and then go up and to there. So I'm going to cut this one first. You see I've already marked it. I'll cut this one first and lay it over the top, figure out if that's all kind of sitting right, and then I can mark it off of this new panel, and then I can cut this section out. And then once that's in, we can trim all this back and then work on what the hell we're going to do with this. This is definitely going to be one of the trickier parts on this because it is in plain sight. Everything in the footwell and the engine bay, whatever, you know, it's tricky, but no one's ever going to see it. It's all covered up with panels. This one people are going to see. So anyway, let's get stuck into it. Bit of marking and grinding later, and I think we've got it somewhat where we want. I've bent the panel up a bit, it fits a bit better, still a bit crappy, but I think that's where I want to cut. So I've marked it up. I'll cut obviously a bit bigger so we can grind it down, but yeah, I think we just got to bite the bullet, just begin and do it. Yeah. Okay, bit of an update. It's been a while. Man, the panel's in, so I've cut it, I've stitched, I've blown through a couple of holes. Stitched it in. These panels do not fit at all. They look good and you hold it up, you're like, yeah, it's about right. No, they're crap. Nothing fits. I had it welded in, it looked good. I put my side skirt on and it wouldn't fit at all. It was sitting out here, like it was just terrible. So I had to get old trusty nylon hammer and wail on it. And I've now got this line sitting a bit better, and I think once I bend this in and start welding all along the bottom, the side skirt will fit. But man, what, it's so crap. It would have been easier, honestly, for me to just make my own panels and spend so much money on getting this crap shipped over from Canada. Do not recommend. Anybody watching from the MR2 community, do not recommend these panels. Terrible. Unless you're getting the whole entire reproduction. But even then, I still, like this bottom section, it'd still be the same. And I still don't think it'd line up, and I still don't think your stock side skirts would fit on. So yeah, pretty average, and I'm pretty bummed because it was a lot of money that I could have spent elsewhere on this car. But anyway, you can see here, it's not great. I've been beating the shit out of it, just trying to make this fit. I'm gonna have to shape it back, and oh man, it's disappointing. It's very disappointing. Anyway, keep on going. This is all too big as well. Like, I'm gonna have to reshape all this to make this actually fit underneath. God help me. So sorry if I haven't been filming. I really wanted to film this whole patch panel going in, but it's just been a headache and I can't film and try and get my head around this at the same time. So I'll show you in a minute once I've figured more of this out. Worst YouTuber ever. Anyway, it's kind of in. I've started stitching, a few blow throughs as predicted. You see here, I've had to beat the shit out of it, but it fits now. Here's our side skirt. And if we line it up in the mounting hole there, it does somewhat line up. Still needs a bit of massaging, but it does fit. Ugh, which is more than it did when I put it on first. So I've got the tack stitched up. I've got two done down here. I've just got to do these two and these three under here, which is going to be a pain in the neck because nothing lines up. And then I can finish stitching all this and grind it all black. Then we can start tackling this section here, which is going to be a headache, but we're getting there. Unfortunately, I'm just going to have to do a bit of putty along here just to make that edge nicer and fill in these dents. It's just the way it is. Well, I'm warm. It's a hot day today, and I'm somewhat done. So it looks like an absolute pig's ear. All this was me chasing blow-throughs. It's just, this metal's so crap, and I was being so careful, but anyway. Had to chase that through now. The reason I haven't ground this all the way back is I've actually dented this in a little bit. So this bead is actually shallower than what the panel will be. So I'll be able to fill that in Just a little bit of body filler to smooth that out, and that'll hide all that, save grinding it all back. So I don't want to grind too much because this is only 0.8. So if you keep grinding it, you're gonna have nothing left. So I'd rather keep the strength in it, and it's good, man. Like it's in there. What a pain in the butt though. That does not fit well. It's okay now, and our side skirt does fit. So let me show you that. Excuse my dodgy camera work. Okay, so fits over there. I'm gonna give it a bit of heave-ho, but it does fit fairly well. So there we go, that is patch panels. I don't know what to say about it. Honestly, those patch panels, I wouldn't do it again. I would rather make my own piece and just bend it up myself. I've got the bender, I rolled that other piece on the other side fine, and it looks great. So this actually probably took me longer trying to make this patch fit than just making my own. So that sucks, because that was a lot of money. 650 bucks Australian I paid for those, and that could have paid for a lot more stuff. So, a bit disappointed, but anyway, it's in there. I'm just hoping I can make it all fit nicely. This bit here, I'm leaving for today. This is gonna be a bit of a shit, because I'm gonna have to make a patch here, and it's got this little bowl. I'm gonna have to bend all this in. I'm probably gonna have to cut this a bit more and shape this, because this is where the door fits. And I'll probably have to maybe put a door on to make sure that that fits properly with the door. But I'm leaving that for today because I am absolutely cooked. Yeah, so that's a full day's work. It's good, six and a half hours work or something. Yeah. Anyway, it's done. So in the next episode, we're going to move on to some other stuff. I'm sorry if this is a bit boring, but this is a reality of bringing an old car like this back to life and trying to do it yourself. It's a lot of days in the garage working on just one thing, and sometimes it's not always that great. So, but I appreciate you watching, and I appreciate your support, and thank you for all the messages. And welcome to the Victorian MR2 community. Hopefully you're watching this after reading the article in the newsletter. That was very cool. Thank you, Jody. And yeah, let's move on to floor pans and using the bead roller and fun stuff like that. Let's get this car done and on the road.